about them Cowboys. It's the Cowboys Squad, sponsored by Game Time. Everything Dallas Cowboys every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from America's team the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Cowboys Squad Show, starting now.
Well, we said after last week we wanted to see some improvement, and we were kind of looking forward to this game number 2, who was going to play, what starters would we see, a lot of good things. And then, of course, Brian Schottenheimer, the Cowboys head coach, said wanted to see this team get off to a better start. That didn't happen, but boy, I don't know. I know there's some good in there, and we want to hit on those, but I don't know. I go back and forth between, okay, none of the real big guys are playing, so we don't know how they're going to look. I hope that they're getting better and they're clicking in practice, but tonight did not look good, and it was not the improved start for Joe Milton that maybe I was kind of hoping for or expecting. Had a couple of good throws in between, but overall, I think still a lot of work to be done with Joe Milton. Anyway, I'm kind of talking a little bit here. I want to say welcome to the co-host of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, Landon McCool. His co-host Marcus Mosher may be joining us at some point. We'll see. And of course, that is former Cowboys coach Glenn Stretch Smith, the one and only. All right, guys, take it away. Your opening thoughts.
Well, I mean, I think there's lots of individual thoughts to talk about.
Yeah.
I think with preseason games, I kind of stay away from general team thoughts because 95% of the folks that you consider to be on the team are not playing in the game. So,
right.
I think what this was a pretty clear referendum on the idea of Joe Milton being your day one kind of quarterback 2 on this roster, and that like he's going to be the first guy off your bench. Like, I think what you've now done is probably readjusted your expectations to what the timeline is with Joe Milton, and the question now becomes like, what is the backup quarterback plan? So specifically for him, I think that him having a poor night and him having as poor a night as he did had as much effect on the score of the game, and probably obviously the feel of the ability to kind of just simply get first downs and continue to evaluate the offense. But I think overall, if you look kind of drill down on some of the individual performances, especially the people that potentially are going to be wearing the uniform on Sundays, I think there was some good stuff in there. I think especially on the defensive side, that there's some guys that played a lot better than we thought previous to this. I just think that if you're looking for a traditional kind of evaluation for how a team played in a regular season game, that's not what this was. I think in a regular season game, if you have Joe Milton as your quarterback, you're probably not coming out and throwing 3 straight passes early on and doing things like that. So
right.
I think, individual performance wise, like there's lots to discuss. I think the overall look and feel of the game, though, is a result of, how poorly specifically Joe Milton played.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the backup quarterback. How much stock are you going to put in that? How much stock do you feel like you need to put into it? You're going to be starting the quarterback against Philadelphia, who hasn't played a game since November. Is he going to be ready to go? That remains to be seen. But I think what you have come out of what I would, in a sense, say are 6 quarters of football is you have determined that this young man is not the backup. He can't – I don't believe he can even finish a real NFL football game for you. Does he show at times that he has – he can get the ball down the field, whether it's a dig, seam, go. He can throw those balls, but it's a lot more to playing quarterback in the National Football League than winding up and throwing it 85 yards. There's just more to it than that. And I can remember, Wade Wilson one year, I think it was when Cam took over. Campbell thought it would be a good idea for everyone to clinic the staff on what you taught. So, for instance, I might get up and talk. I talk tight end releases, I talk blocking, so and so and so forth. And so, anyway, what you're doing is you're educating the rest of your staff on, maybe they want something in season. They want to see a tight end do something, that's different than what you've done, but they want to hear you clinic what you teach. Anyway, I'm saying all that to say Wade Wilson got up and spoke for 3 hours and 14 seconds. The 4 seconds from when the mic cut off and he heard the play in his ear until the ball was snapped. What his thinking process was, what his evaluation was, how he looked at everything. He talked for 3 hours on 14 seconds. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever heard. And I'm thinking tonight, I hope Wade is resting in peace. I miss him almost daily. One of my best friends. But I hope that, and I wish that this young man could understand that, because the interception he threw is absolutely, like, it's one of those things that's just inexcusable. And it'd be inexcusable in high school football to do that. And so
the safety was
he's sitting right in the middle of the field, and the corner's playing outside. So the Wingo takes the easiest release, which is inside, and just gets funneled right into it. And why you would throw that ball, I have no idea. But anyway, let's get on to something going a direction, which is this guy can't be the backup quarterback. Now, do you believe you trust in a 30-year-old Will Grier? Is Will Grier, I don't know, would you put him on par with a guy like Cooper Rush? Is he probably a little more of a gunslinger than Cooper Rush is? Cooper Rush wasn't going to turn the football over. You saw what Cooper Rush was tonight. He was just wearing a different colored jersey. He's going to dink and dunk the football down. He's going to try to extend plays. He's not going to get you hurt. Even on the interception that he throws, he recognized the blitz, and he knew it was a hot read, and probably their only hot adjustment was a hitch. Okay, and Booth sits on the hitch and gets the pick. Okay, but in the big scheme of things, I think you're probably looking at now shifting gears and moving Will Grier into the backup quarterback, because that's in fact what he needs to be, unless you get a veteran or something like that gets cut late. Now, did we see some okay things on the defensive side of the ball? We did. Can you evaluate what the offensive line can do? They picked up a couple of stunts. I saw some okay things out of that, but it's hard to evaluate your offensive line when you can't maintain a drive, when you can't convert. And so it looks ugly, it feels ugly, and it smells ugly, and it's ugly.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, there's a lot of great points in there. And I to kind of piggyback on Coach's point, I think for me, like, you pivot to a plan where Will Grier is like your in-game backup, right? If Dak were to get hurt, stubs his toe or something, needs to get it taped up, and you need him to go in and take some snaps, I think Will Grier becomes your immediate solution. I think if Dak, I'm not knocking on wood, guys, just on all the wood that's around me. If Dak, gets a high ankle sprain, right? He's out 4 to 6 weeks, right? I think that's the case where go out and make a play for a quarterback. You bring a guy in, and that's when you pay the money to go, or not just the money. You may need to pay picks, like being suggested in the chat, to go get a guy that's going to be here for multiple games who can kind of keep you in the race if you feel like you've got a chance. I agree, though. I think I'm okay with this solution. Like, to me, this makes more sense than the Cooper Rush situation, which is a high floor, but for what? Like, to what end? At least now you've got a guy who you can develop in a little bit, and if eventually Joe Milton, after just getting the kind of requisite snaps to kind of start speeding up his processor a little bit, or at least just not holding the ball. That's the thing that was really killing me, is like, that safety he took. I mean, absolutely unnecessary. Just get rid of the football. Like, have some situational awareness. The third down, you just know that you can't take a sack there. Like, and just.
And it's right. And here's the thing: it's right in your face. I mean, exactly. and it's a hot read. It's right in your face. What are you holding the football for?
If there's a 5-minute,
and I mean that is as simpleton as it gets. That is simpleton. And so if you don't know that, and you can't react in a fast fashion, then you have zero. I'm telling you, zero chance to play in a full. I mean, in a real NFL game, zero chance.
If it's a 5-man protection and they send 6, you're responsible for that 6th guy. You got to beat him with your throw, and you got to know where the hot is and get rid of it. You got to at least see the guy. That's the thing. That's like, I mean, this is before you recognize or know where to go. You have to at least know where to look to throw to know that it's coming. And he's not even at that step yet, which is. I mean, again, it feels like we're lashing the kid, but it's more just all of us catching up to where the expectations need to be, because it's been revealed to us where he is in his development. He's a year away. It may be a year away from being a year away. So I think if he's at the place that he is right now, next year, if the Cowboys decide to retain him and figure out a way to kind of keep him as a third quarterback, as an emergency guy, and try to develop him, and if he's at the same place next year, then we can start talking about cutting him and moving on. But I think right now the main story for the Cowboys fans is that they need to figure out what their immediate QB2 situation is. Is that Will Grier, and then you just have that as your plan until disaster strikes, and then you adjust from there. I'm okay with that, but that at least needs to be established, I think, moving forward.
And I let me say this: I have no problem giving him every one of those snaps.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I really don't, because now you have an evaluation, and guess what? You flip it on, and I get it. Man, can he throw it? Wow, and he can hear it come out of his hand. Hey,
when he gets on the edge too, he's athletic.
At the end of the day, you're looking at what it is, and you have to make an evaluation off of that. And the only logical, conclusion you can come to is that, okay, he's a project, and did he make a seam throw that Cropper should have caught? Absolutely. Did he throw the deep ball? Well, absolutely. Did he throw one dig? Yes. But at the end of the day, there is no way you could come out of seeing these last 2 games and say, I feel good about where we are in the depth chart, and pencil him, or excuse me, type him in number 2. You're just, again, you're not looking at the same thing I'm looking at. And maybe that's why I'm on here talking to you guys, because I don't know what the hell I'm looking at.
I guess I was kind of hoping that after last weekend, I was hoping that they would maybe find a way to kind of get him going, find a way to maybe simplify some things and run some easy plays for him to get a rhythm and build off of that. But it just seemed like he never got off the ground.
Well, I think too, they did eventually. Like, I think which drive was it? Like maybe the 3rd drive where they actually started. They got him a couple different throws, and I think part of the issue too is that they didn't run the ball at all early. And when they did finally run the ball, yeah, guess what? Like, they had back-to-back 7-yard carries. You've got Tyler Booker and Beebe in there, and they're going against backup defensive tackle. Maybe, hey, let's run behind those guys. How about it? And so once they finally started doing that and kind of loosening up, and then you saw some more of the design stuff, right? Like, that's the thing about this too, is that it's like, if you knew that Joe Milton, like, let's say Dak were to get injured and Joe Milton was the reason you're putting him in, like, for some reason, I don't think you can do that, but let's say you were, you would call a very different game plan than what you saw tonight. I think they're calling the generic Cowboys Dak game plan so that they can evaluate the rest of their players, as opposed to calling a game plan to the strength of their quarterback. Right. And then finally, once they didn't get any first downs, through 4 drives or whatever it was, they're like, oh, well, I guess we better start catering the quarterback so we can get some first downs, so we can start evaluating guys. So I think once you saw him kind of getting out on the edge, like some bootlegs and stuff where, they limit his reads, he's only having to account for half the field. You take some of the protection stuff out of it. I think you simplify things down, and it's just about being athletic and making a throw on the run. I think that's where you saw him kind of be more comfortable, right? But if you're asking him to, set protections, stand in a clean pocket, understand where his help is, understand where his hots are, understand where they're even blitzing you from, like, while you're standing in a clean pocket, that's, he's not clearing the minimum requirement bar at this point to be in the game. And the highs are great. You see it. Yes, you can, your eyes can deceive you, but it's, and I think the arm can overcompensate for a lack of slow processor. Like, I think those two things can work, you balance each other out, but he's just not even close to being there for the arm to even be a help at this point. He's throwing it so late. It doesn't matter if you can throw it through a barn door. You're throwing it too late. There's 3 defensive backs in the window that you were just looking at.
Well, I'm going to say this probably for the last time. I'm going to say it one more time. Throwing a football in the National Football League is about controlling the nose of the football. I don't want to hear about how cold it is. I don't care if the wind's blowing. I don't give a damn if it's raining. Can you throw and fit the nose of the football in tight windows? That's it. And then do you have quick and fast discernment? And when you threw that deep ball and the guy's standing in the middle of the field, I'm telling you, there's just zero excuse for it. And I don't want to, I don't even like that my bad, my this, my man, bull corn. The guy's standing right there. So, hey, I want the kid to continue to grow, but you've seen enough this year. For me, this is kind of, I'm moving on to Will Greer next week. I'm going to give him as many snaps as I can give him. They're going to flip places. I may give him the fourth Milton the fourth quarter. That's switch places here, and we're gonna move forward because, nothing that I've seen out of these 2 games. It was almost like this game was just like last game. 3 and a safety, 3 and out. They had the ball like it was ridiculous, like 2 minutes in the first 40 minutes of the football game.
Yeah.
They had the ball. They're pretty sure the Ravens offense ran 50 plays in the first half. Yeah. I think it was something like 20 carries and 30 pass attempts. So
79 total for the game. That's
just that's absurd, right? Like, people were quoting the look at all the, and that's the thing. I feel bad for the defense, and we could talk about it a little bit more on the other side of the break. But I feel bad for the defense because people are quoting all these numbers of all these yards that but Cooper Rush had 200 yards passing. Cooper Rush had 200 yards passing on 30 pass attempts. Like that's not super impressive. So I think we should talk about it a little bit more, but the Cowboys defense really was the side that kind of bore the brunt of the fact that the Cowboys offense couldn't make any first downs.
All right, let's do that when we come back. We'll look at some of those. Also, there were a number of Cowboys that did make their debuts tonight. I want to ask you about them as well. That is Landon McCool, along with the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. Cowboys fall to the Ravens in their preseason home opener, 31-13. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, well, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Now, Monarch Money does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes. You can see clear data visuals, get smart categorization, or you can finally feel like you're in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNFL. Well, look at this. We got Marcus Mosher back with us.
Oh, no.
How's it going, guys?
Co-host of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, along with Landon McCool. Marcus, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Has coach complained about the quarterback yet? I just tuned in. Like
our first segment was all about the quarterback. We were all complaining, to be fair.
Well, then good. We're right on track, so that's great.
We were talking about just some of the stats, and I mean the Ravens ran 79 plays, which is a lot. That's a lot for the defense to be on the field. The time of possession, first downs, 26-7. But we did see Tyler Booker make his debut. Wanted to get your thoughts on that. Miles Sanders made his debut. Hoping.
Can we start with Miles Sanders real quick?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Because Coach and I were actually talking at halftime about Miles Sanders. And honestly, I was not very impressed. I actually think, to me, he's one of the biggest losers coming out of this preseason game. On that second down play, the second run he had, he kind of bobbled a snap. And I know it was on his hip a little bit, but he bobbled it. It resulted in a big loss. There was a short yardage play where he kind of tippy-toed, didn't end up getting it. For a guy that doesn't play special teams, that's clearly not your RB1, he's not going to be your RB2 because Jaden Blue is going to occupy that role. He's your third running back. I just didn't see anything out of him where I feel like he has to be on this roster. And I don't want to overreact to 7 carries in the preseason, but he just looks like another guy out there. And why are we paying a running back $2-3 million a year that just looks like your average Joe?
100% agree. I was really shocked just kind of how unimpressive he looked. I thought that some of the things that got blocked up for him pretty nicely, that he just didn't read it correctly. Or at least he didn't see it. I don't know if he read it correctly and it just opened up after his read, but it just felt like to be fair to him, he's still kind of working his way back after missing a whole bunch of time. But I mean, if we're just trying to gauge exactly where we are in the running back position, I feel so much more comfortable with what I've seen from Javonte Williams, and frankly, I've seen from what I've seen from Jaden Blue, just on out there. And so at this point, I want to see, Vaughn is kind of what he is at this point. Like he looked nice. He had a nice, blitz pickup at one point, but he still can't break a tackle to save his life in the NFL, which is unfortunate. So I want to see more of Phil Maffa and to kind of get a better idea of exactly what we've got in him. Cause I thought, again, he had another nice run tonight. Maybe he had another penalty which is, again, they're emphasizing the offensive offside stuff, but I want to see more of Phil Maffa because I think, after seeing him take some reps with the coaches in special team stuff, I think that we're seeing that he's has a chance to make this team. And frankly, with the way that Miles Sanders played, I think he's kind of even further opened up that door for a chance for Moffa to make it.
Yeah, he's got a chance on 4th and 1 to hit it in there, and he again, almost as if he was acting like a veteran. I mean, he just patted his feet. And I mean, to me, you got to go stick the ball up in there and get a yard. I mean, that's just to me that turns me off immediately.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, I want to see somebody else other than that. I want to, and again, I mean, as much as I think Deuce Vaughn was a really good college football player, I mean, he doesn't. How many times do I need to see him, in these situations? I want to see him in the last few games, see if he can return a kick. I want to see anything, but he's not an NFL running back.
No. So we should mention that I think all of us agree that Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue are going to be on this roster, right? And so is Hunter Lipke. So that's 3 running backs. It's really that 4th guy. And Miles Sanders isn't just competing with Deuce Vaughn and Phil Maffa for that spot. He's competing with all of these other guys who are going to be cut in the next 2 weeks. And Landon and Stretch, you just can't convince me that there aren't going to be better guys available, because what we saw tonight looked like an older veteran who just didn't want to get hit anymore.
I don't know why you would keep a down roster running back who isn't playing. I mean, if he's not playing special teams, and like he's not like a special back, he's not necessarily your starter at this point. Like if he isn't a value add, then and he's not playing special teams, I don't know how you roster him. I think you have to find a guy that's either special enough that it's worth it, or you get somebody who's willing to do both, like potentially Maffa.
By the way,
I mean, I've seen enough, right? Again, guys, if they're not, if the pro personnel side of it, if they're not evaluating it in this way, I'm not real sure how we would look at this. I mean, right now, they need to be looking and seeing, is there going to be a veteran quarterback cut, and they need to be looking to see if there's a veteran running back that's going to be cut. And if they're not doing that, hell, I don't know what they're watching.
I was going to say, by the way, Jaden Blue is expected to play on Friday against the Falcons. That's the plan of now. So we'll see, but we'll get a good look at him. I personally didn't get a chance to look intently or rewind or anything, but how did Tyler Booker look to you guys?
I thought he played great. I thought there were a couple different times that he was burying his guy, and there was a couple different times where him and BB were demolishing and opened up a hole, and they were running again. Sanders read it wrong and cut it to the left side at one time, and then they just weren't running behind it. But when they did, I think those back-to-back runs for like 7 yards, they were running behind Booker. And the front of the pocket looked mostly okay. I think the times when guys were coming through, it wasn't like people were confused on stunts or twists. We saw them passing off stuff pretty nicely, which is I thought was pretty impressive considering he's playing with the guys on the right tackle that aren't necessarily going to be the guys that he's starting the games with on Sunday. I thought for overall Booker and BB looked pretty decent when they got the opportunity. They didn't run the ball very much with them while they were on the field.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Booker base up a guy a couple of times. I mean, he shows his power and his strength. That's what you want to see. I saw him run a couple of ET stunts where, I mean, he felt the guy go away, stayed square. That's what you want to do, because guess what? When your guy goes away, there'll be somebody coming. So just don't chase that guy. Don't turn your shoulders and chase that guy where you can let the looper back inside. And he had a better feel for that. So, I'm okay with that. Am I sitting here, all shot in the ass with it one way or the other? I would say he looks like he's a good guard, and he looks like he's going to be able to pick it up and get it done at this level. Do I want to see? I want to see. I want to wait for a true evaluation when you can see him working with a guy that he's going to be working alongside at tackle, because I think that's so very important to be able to work in tandem. But hey, that's what He's not controlling what he's playing next to, so all he control is what he did. And I thought he did. He went out there and showed you why he was the number one pick or first round pick.
I thought Cooper Beebe played really well. I was really watching him as well. There were a lot of times the Cowboys just left him one-on-one with the defensive tackle, and he didn't give an inch. And I think this is why they felt comfortable playing Tyler Booker tonight. It's because he had a center that he's used to playing next to. I think I saw more from Booker as a pass blocker than I maybe saw as a run blocker. Once we watch the All-22, we'll give you a better idea. But if you had any concerns about Booker kind of going into the week one, don't. I think he looked like a guy that's ready for this moment.
All right, we're going to take our second time out. When we come back, I want to talk to you about the defense a little bit. A couple of guys that stood out to me, but I want to hear what you guys thought. Also, Marcus, I was trying to find out if there was any update from the Cowboys on Mingo, who kind of walked with that non-contact knee injury.
Well, the Cowboys are going to do an MRI, but I don't think they're all that concerned. He was on the sideline. He was walking around. He walked back to the locker room. Generally, if they think it's something serious, they're not having you on the sideline walking around. So, again, we'll see, but relatively good news.
Okay, good. All right. Well, tough night tonight for the Cowboys. Offensively, they fall to the Ravens 31-13 with one more preseason game left to go. We'll come back with more after this. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, well, it's that time of the year for sure. And, Marcus put on a show for us the other day with all of his hardware. But this episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. So if you're playing on Yahoo Fantasy, whether you're a first timer or not, or a veteran playing in your millionth league, it's going to be a big year. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Football is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they have just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. So with the season around the corner, now is the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues, or you can even join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, we're back. The Cowboys Squad Show. Jeff Biggs, Landon McCool, Marcus Mosher, and the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. Cowboys fall to the Ravens 31-13. Couple of things for me defensively. I don't think we brought this up at all the entire offseason, but I forgot about Andrew Booth and some of the plays.
The Ravens didn't early in the game. They were just throwing the ball at him over and over.
But I was glad to see him step up the way that he did tonight. And another one was welcome back out of the doghouse for Damone Clark. Those two right there. I thought that was kind of fun on the defensive side. I don't know, those are more, but those were two that stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean the Damone Clark stuff that's Zimmer's issue, man. I don't know. I never understood that whole thing, because even with Zimmer, like when Clark would play, he played pretty decently. So I think he just needed a little bit of time and if a coaching staff that was patient, because I do think that I think one of the big winners of this, I don't like to like kind of take 10,000 foot views of where the team is from preseason games. I like individual performances, but when I'm looking at my list of guys who I thought had good performances, I have several different linebackers down listed as having good performances, and I feel like that's one area where you have noticed a clear improvement from last season. It feels like we weren't really sure exactly what to think about this group, right? Without Overshone, we didn't really know the timeline was. We thought he was the real kind of ceiling for this group. We weren't really sure what we were getting from Jack Sanborn. We weren't inspired by Kenneth Murray necessarily. But what we've seen is Shamar James seems like he's a guy who's going to be a really good football player for this team at some point. We've seen Leofau kind of take his step that's kind of natural for guys like that, which is great. We didn't get a chance, obviously, to see him tonight. But I also think that we saw guys like Damone Clark who have had really good camps throughout camp, and then come in and reinforce it with take the drum beats, what we always talk about on the show, right? The drum beat. And I think we're starting to see it with Clark, where he's had a really good camp day in and day out. Now he's having a really good preseason game when he's getting opportunities. I just think I feel so much better about where these linebackers are versus where I was pre-training camp. And it's not because any one of these guys necessarily have been specifically fantastic, though I think Clark has been. I think they've all just been much better, a little bit better than I thought they would be. So I think there's just like a safety and numbers situation, which again, at linebacker, these guys get beat up and injured so often. It's nice to have some numbers there.
And Matt Eberflus deserves the credit there. This is something that Landon and I have been talking about all offseason. Like Matt Eberflus's specialty is coaching linebackers. And I think you're already seeing it. These guys are flying around. They're playing with confidence. And they're playing with control. Like the very first tackle that Jack Sanborn made where he's just filling a gap, coming downhill, making the tackle. And then Shamar James does it. And then Damone Clark does it. These guys are just playing with a lot of confidence, and they're playing well. And you're right, Landon. Like those three played well tonight. They have Kenneth Murray, who they're still banking on. They have DeMarvion Overshone, who's going to hopefully be back by Thanksgiving. And we didn't even mention Maris Leofau, who I don't think this was his best game, but he's somebody they feel great about. You finally have some depth at this position.
Well, I think it's the best position on the defense. I mean, here's the problem is offenses are going to control how many of them are in the football game. I mean, that's just how it is. So, do I think that you're going to see multiple teams line up and play the Cowboys and 12 personnel? Probably not. I think you're going to see more. I mean, I think you'll see more, nickel and dime situations. Well, that's when those guys come out. So, and the reason people are going to do that is because they're going to look for the matchup that favors them. And the matchup that favors them is not, trying to muscle it up against what I feel like is the best position on the team right now. So it's good to know that they have depth there, and it's good to see guys come and play the game the way you're supposed to play it, which is if you're a B gap filler, then get your ass in the B gap and go flying up in there. That's what you want to see. So, and you see guys chase the ball sideline to sideline. I mean, I like seeing the speed of Clark. I mean, he can chase the football. That's always what you want is guys when the ball goes away, they go chase it with a sense of urgency. So good, and that is the one positive side. But like I'm saying, I just think that you're going to see teams that are going to want to get the Cowboys more in dime looks where they're four wides and see if they can get a matchup that favors them better.
And kind of speaking to that, go ahead, Marcus.
No, go ahead. I got another thought, but go ahead.
And speaking to that, I kind of think that one of the other the groups that we were looking to evaluate this week was who's playing nickelback, right? And specifically, and I thought the three guys that kind of were platooning that all had pretty decent games. Keemon Hall had an interception at one point. We saw Zion Childress. He kind of had an up and down game. There was definitely a point when it felt like I saw him missing a tackle in the hole. I saw him kind of get beat on a one-on-one situation, but I also saw him catch up and make a play down the field. I saw him fill in the alley at one point, get physical, which is an important, at that spot specifically. So it was good to see the young guys kind of step up a little bit. So I think, you know, the cornerback position has been very difficult to kind of evaluate, right? Because it feels like some of them take a step forward and then 2 steps back and then they get injured. And like that's the kind of refrain that all of them have gone through. So even though Booth had like an interception, he kind of was thrown out a lot because they were playing a lot of off coverage. And I don't know that that's necessarily, you know, where his strength is.
It's funny about this secondary because like Zion Childress is a guy that I really like, but do I like him as like a week 1 starter on Thursday Night Football against Philadelphia? No, probably not. But I could see it, like I could squint and see him being like a starting slot corner a year from now once he kind of bulks up a little bit and learns that position. Same with Keemon Hall. It's just that they don't really have time to let these guys sit and develop. Like they need somebody to step up right away. And maybe that's where a corner move comes. You go out and you sign whoever, Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas, and all of a sudden these guys are back down to being projects at the back end of the roster. I like some of their depth. I wonder if they're ready for those bright lights. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, you know, and I look at Bell, and I've seen enough of Bell. You know what I mean? I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him have to play a lot. It's just where I'm at with it. But week 1 through week 5, I mean, I think we could see a number of combination of guys in there, and that's, you know, that's the scary side of this whole thing is that, you know, do you trust Kyer Elam? Do you trust Janaea Thomas? Do you trust, you know, because it's about to count here in 2 weeks, and you better have this, I feel like, a little more figured out than what it feels like they've got it done right now, which is still playing just a multitude of guys in the game.
I just had one other guy on defense I wanted to mention. I thought Perion Winfrey had a pretty good game. He flashed a couple times. I don't think he's ready to be, you know, a starting defensive tackle or anything like that. But I do think he is somebody, once you get Osa Odighizuwa back, once Solomon Thomas starts playing, you know, as that 3rd or 4th defensive tackle that you rotate in for 15 or so snaps a game, I think he can be effective. He is so doggone big and long, and you can see him kind of shoot some gaps and make some plays. This is somebody that I'm pretty intrigued with, and it seems like the Cowboys might have stolen a good defensive tackle from the UFL.
I think you make a point. He goes right from playing to playing. I mean, he's in playing shape right now, and you see him get in the game, and that's what he looks like. He looks like a guy who has been playing football, and he's comfortable inside. So I think you make a good point. You know, he adds depth to a position of concern.
Yeah, you're still worried about what's going on at the top of the position, but you feel like, hey, I got a couple different bodies that I'm comfortable with playing out there who can give me, you know, 5-6 snaps a game at under tackle, maybe in some, you know, inside in some, you know, specific situations where he's one gapping upfield. But yeah, I think it doesn't necessarily solve the overall issue, like of do you have the talent you need at nose tackle, at defensive tackle to compete. I just think it helps alleviate the issue of having enough qualified bodies in the kind of defensive 3 and 4 part of your roster.
Jeff,
I like what I saw at Houston too. I mean, I like his ability to get up the field. I like his ability to use his hands. He understands leverage a little bit. I mean, he put his thumb in a guy's Adam's apple one time and bent him backwards. And that's, you know, you want to see a little bit of that. You know, you want to see a little bit of that nastiness, and he's got some pass rush shake to him. So, you know, that's a good thing as well.
He got pushed around a little bit in the run. That was the only thing. Later in the game, he looked tired. But early on, he was just wreaking havoc as a pass rusher coming around the corner. I mean, we've been talking about it all week. It's like how do you cut him, right? Like he looks so good, but you've got so many bodies there at defensive end. It's like he's just another one that you're just gonna have to figure it out. But the good news is, again, like with the changes in the rules and special teams and that sort of thing, it just allows you to hold on to more of those types of bodies because of you need them more on kickoff and punt return than you did previous to the changes to the rules. So I do think that they're and we've seen in camp they've done a lot of these kind of 5-man surfaces, right, where they have 5 defensive linemen, one of them sometimes standing up, but 5 guys attacking 5 blockers just to kind of get clean looks for their linebackers. So I think that there's opportunity for him to kind of get in there and be part of this team and be maybe defensive end 6 or whatever it is, because the Cowboys have a lot of bodies there. And then if they're going to do that, they're going to have to do some of the stuff that we saw tonight. They threw 4 defensive ends out there as a NASCAR package when they got that interception. I think the first one is, so they're going to use these defensive ends as much as they can, and with the undersized defensive tackles, they have a lot of guys who they think can get up the field on the defensive line. The question is, can they hold anybody up and keep the linebackers clean?
Jeff, I've got a hot take on James Houston, but we'll get to it after the break.
Ooh, nice. Look at that. It's like a
tease.
Yeah, that was a good tease right there. And I wanted to ask you guys too, if there was anybody that disappointed you on defense, and then also about Donovan Ezeraku. So we'll do that when we come back. Nice tease though, Marcus. Great job. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, we are back. The Cowboys Squad Show, the co-hosts of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, Marcus Mosher and Landon McCool, and former Cowboys coach Glenn Stretch Smith. All right, give it to us, Marcus. Justin Houston.
Yeah, Landon mentioned that Justin Houston, it's going to be hard to find a spot on the roster for him as DN6, right, or Edge 6. I'm not so sure that he is Edge 6. Sam Williams today, and I don't want to overreact to 15 or 16 snaps on defense, but Sam Williams is incredibly frustrating for a lot of reasons, right? He is so athletic. He's so explosive, but he's still just so technically raw. And you saw it early in this game on some of the, he's peeking into the backfield and guys are running outside of him, and he's getting blown off the ball by a tight end. And then on some of the rushes, he's going way outside and running himself out of the arc. I wonder, is there a chance that James Houston, they're both on the roster, but James Houston is the guy that's active in week 1, and Sam Williams is a healthy scratch as he kind of continues to work his way back from the ACL. I'm not sure that he's one of your top 4 defensive ends on your roster right now.
Well, I mean, what I saw in practice was it looks like they're kind of comfortable dropping Sam Williams some. So is that a situation where, I don't know, where they get to where they're, bringing 4 week and dropping him out of there? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know what this is going to look like, but I'm from the school that I believe defensively you could see a rotation of guys active and inactive every week. I really do believe that, because I can promise you right now, I don't have confidence in Ezeraku in the football game. I can promise you that. He ain't got enough lead in his ass. I mean, you can say, well, you can put him in there as a pass rusher, and okay, 3rd and 12 plus, but I mean, how many times are you going to use that guy in that situation? So I'm not sure that Ezeraku is a guy that I'm going to say week 1 is going to be one of these rolling ball of butcher knives coming off the edge.
Yeah, I still have a lot of faith in Sam Williams, but I get it. I mean, he didn't have a good night, and you saw a little bit of the ugly side of his game where he kind of loses discipline over his technique. I mean, I think he knows the technique. I think he gets hot-headed or he gets tired, and he just kind of loses the precision and kind of the way he's playing. And it's the NFL. You may be an incredible athlete, and he certainly is. But if you're not playing with the right technique, these guys that are 320 pounds and 6'7" can move you. So I think that he just needs to clean it up, and I think he plays, 10 to 12 snaps a game probably in the regular season. He was probably playing more than that tonight just because of what they needed. But I think I'll take the kind of chaos that he creates, and sometimes it's bad chaos. I get it. But I think that defenses need that. They need that edge to a large degree. And that's why he would be part of a rotation though, right? Is because you don't always want to play that card. Sometimes that you need to go out there and play disciplined gap sound football. And in that case, you may want to play some.
I guess I just wonder, like early on in the season, do you give him, some time to just, rehab a little bit more? Not rehab, that's the wrong word because he's healthy, right? But just kind of get back up to speed. Just based on what we saw tonight, I just think Houston's a better player right now. I don't think it's always going to be that way. But do you find a way to get Houston on the active roster and let Sam Williams be a healthy scratch for a week or two? I don't know.
I think the complaints that coach has about Ezraku, I have about Houston. I think there's a reason that he was out on the street as a pass rusher. He is because he gets pushed around. And I think that that's one thing that Sam Williams, occasionally does, but on a much more consistent level is a much better run player than either one of those two players.
The problem is Williams is so inconsistent. You can have everything fitted so well, and then he shoots the wrong gap, and it's a big run the other way. He's just a very frustrating player in a good and bad way.
All right. So with everything, we've kind of broken down some of the individual highlights from tonight, but one more preseason game, the regular season opener, 18 days away. How do we connect the dots? And Coach, I think you kind of hit on it earlier. I mean, it's not about what we're seeing on the field in these games, but are they getting close to where they want to be? Is the right, I guess a lot of that depends on what's going on in practice, obviously, most of that. But your level of concern, are you concerned? Are you okay? What are you looking for this final week, and what do you feel like we haven't had answered yet?
I mean, I don't know that we know anything except we don't know. We know who the backup quarterback doesn't need to be. I mean, I can't say that I'm really confident in anything. I mean, I can't say that I'm confident in who the starting running back's going to be. I'm confident in who the X and Z receivers are going to be, just because we know that's what's out there. I'm confident in who the tight end's going to be, but I don't have a lot of confidence in what this offense is. I don't even have a lot of confidence in what it's going to look like. I mean, does Schottenheimer do more under center stuff? I mean, it looked like tonight, he was trying to put Milton under center some to, so you don't have to offset the back, so you can kind of keep your options open there. Defensively, what kind of shape is Bland in, and do you think we'll see more man coverage against a really good Eagles receiving core? I'm telling you, I really don't know, and I don't think we're going to see anything against Atlanta that's going to lead us to believe that, well, they're going to do this or they're going to do that. I just think that we're going to be flying this thing, in the fog here, and we're going to come on here after the Eagles game, and we're going to try to give the best rundown that we can give. But shoot, I don't have any idea what. And I'm going to tell you what scares me. I don't know that they know. I mean, that's a little scary thought.
I have a thought coming out of the preseason. I've been watching a lot of preseason football over the last 2 weeks because I am a very sick individual. Do the Cowboys have the most boring preseason games of any team in the league? It just seems like nothing happens for 2.5 hours. I just wish their preseason games were more fun. That's all.
If you guys are watching preseason games for entertainment or for education, then I mean, what are we doing here, folks?
There's not a lot to do out here, Landon. What do you want me to say?
That's fair. I think it's tough to I think Coach is right. We don't know anything, but I also think that wasn't in the cards, right? Dak Prescott, isn't going to take a single snap in this preseason game. in any preseason game. CeeDee Lamb's not going to take a single snap. George Pickens isn't going to take a single snap. I'm pretty sure Ferguson hasn't taken a single snap.
They were having fun, Marcus. They were having fun. Not to cut you off.
I think that's to me the most consequential part of the football team. And we haven't seen any of that yet. So I think I do know who the starting running back of this team is, but we haven't seen him in training and in preseason yet. So I just think that we weren't gonna have good answers by this point. I agree. I don't love the unknown there. They may have an idea of exactly what this team's gonna be. But I don't think anybody ultimately knows how these teams are going to be until week 1, because there's so much turnover. Even the teams that are we consider to be the most consistent or have the most carryover. There's so much turnover with these teams that I think you have an idea, then you get to week 1, and then you see a lot of these teams change and make alterations and make adjustments. So I think the unknown is both good and bad here, right? Maybe it's helpful, maybe it's a good unknown, and it's the kind of thing that these guys are able to kind of take something and light it on fire. There's talent on this team, but it's just a lot of ingredients that may be good, but who knows how they're prepared.
All right. Hey, one final thing before we go, kind of circling back to what we opened up with, and that's the quarterback, the backup position. I've been thinking about this the whole show, and I think we're all kind of in agreement that Will Grier right now seems to be better prepared to handle that backup position, that Joe Milton needs more work, more practice, more improvement, more reps, whatever. I'm wondering though, just from the outside looking in, I mean, can the Cowboys, can they go, and maybe I'm reading into something that doesn't exist, but I mean, can they open that can and bump him down like that and afford not to lose him? I guess what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is that, there's a chance maybe he won't handle that kind of demotion well, and it could just implode. I mean, they built him up. He thought he, was a starter in New England, and I don't know.
I think Milton's going to be the third quarterback, but with the way that the rules are now, all 3 quarterbacks can dress. I just think it's going to be Grier that can pop into a game. Like if Dak's shoe comes off and he needs to miss 2 plays, I think it's going to be Grier coming into the game, because you don't need to give him as many reps in practice to be ready. I think he's going to be ready. But if we're talking about a long-term situation, I think that's when Milton would get the chance. But listen, it feels like the Cowboys very much have a backup quarterback problem. But hey, heads up, 20 other teams in the NFL are having the same issue. Yeah. All these teams are in trouble if their starting quarterback goes down. The Cowboys are no different.
And the Rams are staring it right in the face, right? They won't even let you know if Matthew Stafford threw tonight before the game. I mean, they're not letting you know anything. So yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I mean, I'll ask Jeff Biggs, you think when when he goes in to watch the film, he's in there sleeping? He sees it too. He sees where he's at. I mean, you can't. It didn't like you got to be magna cum laude at Harvard to figure out you ain't getting it done, bro. You ain't pulling the trigger. You're missing throws. You're late with the football. You don't see the blitz. I mean, hell, check B, all of the above. He's going to walk in there tomorrow morning. He's going to cut the film on. And it's going to look as bad to him as it looks to us.
Okay. All right. Hey, I'm just throwing it out there, man. These are different times.
I'm telling you, we're not coming out with some new theory here. He knows. I mean, one thing about it, your eyes don't lie. I mean, they just don't. You're going there and you're going to see it. I think the kid it does have talent, but he is light years. I'm telling you, he is light years away from playing in the National Football League. He just is. And to Marcus's point, hey, maybe there are a bunch of guys that are like that out there. I've watched. I'll say in Aledo, Texas, there ain't a whole hell of a lot going on around here either. I mean, I've watched a bunch of preseason football, and I'm with Marcus. I mean, it's pretty watching the Cowboys is pretty bland, but there's a lot of bad quarterback play going on, and there's a lot of so that's why it's the toughest position to evaluate. It drives scouts crazy. It drives personnel executives crazy. It drives everybody crazy. It's hard to evaluate that position.
And it pays well, right, Coach?
Yeah, just ask Dak. Look at that. I think we need to give him a pay raise.
All right. Before we go, Marcus, Landon, can you give us a little preview of what you got coming up this week, final week of preseason play, what we can look forward to?
Yeah, we're going to continue to break down the preseason game. We'll look at the All-22 probably on Sunday, give you guys an in-depth breakdown. We'll get you ready for that Falcons game on Friday. We'll talk about all the latest news, including Jaden Blue, who's expected to play next week against Atlanta. So make sure you guys tune in for that.
All right. I think we'll all be together again on Wednesday night.
Correct. Yep.
All right, one more show, and then we'll do it again Friday as well. All right, guys. Well, hey, great job. Great to have everybody on board, and a lot to chew on from this one. And again, one more coming up on Friday against the Falcons. Don't forget Marcus and Landon with the Daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, and of course, the one and only TV, radio, the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. Final score tonight, the Ravens in the preseason game number 2 over the Cowboys, 31-13. We'll talk to you during the week. This has been the Cowboys Squad Show.